I was living in a $39 a night motel room, eating cold beans straight from a can, when the knock came at 2 in the morning. The man at my door wore a $5,000 suit and knew my name. "Claire Whitmore?" he asked. "Yeah, that's me. If you're here about money, I don't have any. Your ex-husband, Daniel, doesn't know I'm here, but what I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about his cancer, your divorce, and why he really left you. My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 42 years old, and 6 months ago I had everything. A thriving interior design business, a house I'd renovated with my own hands, 2 beautiful children, and a husband I thought I'd grow old with. Now I live in room 107 of the Sunset Valley Motel, where the walls are so thin I can hear my neighbor crying himself to sleep every night. Sometimes I wonder if he can hear me doing the same. The man in the expensive suit was still standing at my door, holding a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my monthly motel bill. Behind him, the parking lot's flickering neon light made shadows dance across his face. He looked like the kind of man who never had to pawn her engagement ring to pay for someone else's medical bills. The kind of man my ex-husband claimed he wanted to be instead of shackled to me. "May I come in, Miss Whitmore? What I have to show you shouldn't be discussed in a doorway." I looked around my pathetic room, the unmade bed, a hot plate balanced on a card table, boxes of my life stacked against the wall. Not exactly set up for visitors, but something in his eyes made me step aside. "5 minutes," I said, "then you need to leave." He walked in, set his briefcase on my bed, and turned to face me. "Miss Whitmore, my name is Theodore Ashford. I'm a private investigator, and I've been hired by someone who cares about you very much. Someone who never believed the story your husband told." "Ex-husband," I corrected him, the words still bitter in my mouth. "Yes, of course, your ex-husband, Daniel." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick manila folder. "Tell me, Miss Whitmore, did you ever meet Dr. Harrison Vance before your husband's diagnosis?" "His oncologist? No. He found him through a specialist referral. Said he was the best in Denver for pancreatic cancer. Why?" Theodore pulled out a photograph. It showed Daniel at what looked like a backyard barbecue, laughing with a man I recognized immediately, Dr. Vance. But this photo was dated 3 years ago, long before Daniel's diagnosis. "Dr. Harrison Vance is your ex-husband's second cousin, Miss Whitmore, and he's been helping Daniel plan something truly evil for the past 2 years. The room started spinning. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. "That's impossible. I saw him suffering. The chemo, the weight loss, the fear in his eyes. All carefully orchestrated, I'm afraid, but we'll get to that." He pulled out another document. "This is a bank statement from an account in the Cayman Islands. Your ex-husband has been depositing money there every time you sold something to pay for his treatment. Your house netted him $400,000. Your design studio equipment another $200,000. My mother's wedding necklace, my engagement ring, all of it went straight from the so-called medical payments into his offshore account." I sat down hard on the bed. The cheap mattress creaked under my weight. My hands were shaking now, and not from the cold that seeped through the motel's thin walls. "You're telling me he never had cancer?" "The medical records were falsified. The chemotherapy was actually a combination of saline solution and specific vitamins that would make him sick enough to seem authentic. He lost weight through strict dieting and prescription medications." Every single aspect was planned, documented, and executed with the help of Dr. Vance and his divorce attorney, Brent Caldwell. The shark who had torn me apart in court. The man who painted me as an unstable failure who couldn't provide for her children. The man who stood next to Daniel as he took my kids away. "How long have you known this?" My voice came out as a whisper. "I've been investigating for 6 months. Hired the day after your divorce was finalized." Theodore sat down in the rickety chair across from me. "The person who hired me suspected something was wrong when Daniel refused to let them attend any medical appointments. They've been quietly gathering evidence ever since, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth." "Who hired you?" Theodore smiled for the first time since entering my room. "Your father, Robert Whitmore. He never believed Daniel was sick, Miss Whitmore. He said, and I quote,
My daughter would give everything for family, but I'll be damned if I let her lose everything to a lie. The tears came then, hot, angry tears that I'd been holding back for months. My father, who I'd pushed away when he offered help, who I'd been too proud to accept money from, had been fighting for me this whole time. Dad knew. He knew something was wrong. Your mother, Evelyn, helped too, following Daniel when he said he was going to treatments. They documented everything. Your brother Marcus helped track the money trails. Your whole family has been working to save you, Claire. You were never alone, even when you felt like you were. I thought about all those nights in this motel room, wondering if my kids, Amelia and Jonah, would ever forgive me for losing everything, for not being the mother they deserved. I thought about Daniel's cruel laugh when he told me he wanted a real woman, how he'd taken my kids and poisoned them against me. And all along, it had been a lie. What happens now? I asked. Theodore stood up, straightening his suit. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the FBI will arrest Daniel and Brent Caldwell on charges of fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement, and about a dozen other federal crimes. Dr. Vance has already confessed in exchange for a reduced sentence. Your children have been told the truth and are currently with your parents, waiting for you to come home. Home? I don't have a home anymore. Actually, you do. Theodore pulled out a deed. Your father bought your house through a trust the day you sold it. He's been maintaining it, keeping your studio exactly as you left it. He said you'd need it when this was all over. I stared at the deed with my address on it. The house I'd poured my blood and soul into, where I'd raised my children, where I thought I'd grow old with Daniel. It had been waiting for me all along. Why didn't anyone tell me sooner? We needed ironclad evidence. Your ex-husband was very careful, very smart. One wrong move and he would have disappeared with the money and possibly the children. We had to wait until we had everything documented, every crime proven beyond doubt. Theodore moved toward the door, then turned back. Your father asked me to tell you something. He said, you did exactly what I raised you to do. You put family first. You sacrificed everything for love. The fact that Daniel exploited that doesn't make you weak, Claire. It makes him evil. And evil only wins when good people stop fighting. Your fight isn't over. It's just beginning. As he reached for the door handle, I found my voice again. Wait, you said someone knocked on my door and changed everything, but you haven't changed anything yet. You've just told me the truth. Theodore smiled again, broader this time. Miss Whitmore, the truth is the most powerful change agent in the world. In 12 hours, your ex-husband will be in federal custody, your children will be back in your arms, your business can be rebuilt, but most importantly, you'll know that your family never gave up on you. If that's not everything changing, I don't know what is. He opened the door to leave, then paused. Oh, and Claire, your father said to tell you that your old design crew have been turning down jobs for 6 months, waiting for you to come back. They never believed Daniel either. Sometimes the family we choose is just as powerful as the family we're born into. The door closed behind me, leaving me alone in room 107 with the truth that would reshape everything I thought I knew about the worst year of my life. Before everything fell apart, I had the kind of life other women envied. Not wealthy but comfortable, not famous but respected. I ran Whitmore Interiors in Denver, a design company I'd built from nothing but a sketchbook, a secondhand laptop, and the tools my grandfather left me. We specialized in custom home spaces, kitchens, living rooms, offices, the kind where every detail mattered. My hands had drawn hundreds of layouts, but the one I was proudest of was my own home. I remember the morning everything was still perfect. It was a Thursday in March, and I woke up at 5:30 like always. Daniel was still asleep beside me, his dark hair messy against the pillow. 15 years of marriage, and I still felt lucky watching him breathe. He'd left me a note on the nightstand, like he did every morning. Coffee's ready. Lunch is packed. Love you, Claire. Downstairs, my daughter Amelia was already at the kitchen table. 14 years old, full of stubborn brilliance. She was studying sheet music for her spring concert. Violin in its case beside her like it contained gold. Morning, Mom. Can you help me run through scales tonight? Of course, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it. My son Jonah stumbled in a few minutes later, carrying his football playbook under one arm, hair sticking up in every direction. Morning, Mom. Can you throw passes with me after practice? After work, buddy. We'll keep going until your arm falls off.
This was our routine, breakfast together, everyone talking over each other. Daniel packing lunches while reminding us about dentist appointments and soccer practices. I'd kiss everyone goodbye and head to my office where my team would already be setting up. Sophie, my project manager for 5 years, would hand me the day's schedule. Claire, we've got the St. James renovation walkthrough at 10, and Mrs. Patterson wants to change her kitchen layout again, 4th time this month. We'd laugh because that's what you did. You dealt with demanding clients, budget changes, supplier delays, and you built something beautiful anyway. My father, Robert Whitmore, 73 years old and still sharp as a tack. He'd walk through my projects, running his hands across finished surfaces, checking paint lines with his practiced eye. Good work, Claire. Your grandfather would be proud. Thanks, Dad. Your mother wants everyone over for Sunday dinner. Don't be late. Sunday dinners at my parents' house were sacred. My mother, Evelyn, would cook enough food for an army. My brother, Marcus, would show up with his wife and 2 kids. We'd eat until we couldn't move, then sit on the porch while the kids played in the yard. Marcus worked as a mechanic, grease permanently under his fingernails, but he could fix anything with an engine. You ever think about expanding into commercial work? He'd ask. No, I like knowing the families who live in what I design. It's personal, you know? Daniel would help Mom with the dishes, their laughter drifting through the kitchen window. He'd been close to my parents since high school when I first brought him home. Mom pulled me aside that night and whispered, "That one's special, Claire. Don't mess it up." And I hadn't, or at least I thought I hadn't. The Tuesday that changed everything started like any other. Daniel had been tired lately, complaining of stomach pain. I'd been nagging him to see a doctor, but he kept putting it off. Then he called me at work, crying so hard I could barely understand him. "Claire, I'm at the hospital. They found something. Can you come?" I left Sophie in charge and drove to Denver General, breaking every speed limit. I found Daniel in the oncology ward, sitting on a paper-covered exam bed, his face pale and frightened. Dr. Harrison Vance stood beside him, tall and serious in his white coat. "Mrs. Whitmore, your husband has stage 3 pancreatic cancer. We'll need to start aggressive treatment immediately." The words hit me like a hammer to the chest. Cancer, the same disease that had taken my grandmother, my uncle, Daniel's own father. I sat down hard in the visitor's chair while Dr. Vance explained treatment options, survival rates, costs. The numbers blurred together. All I could focus on was Daniel's hand in mine, trembling like a bird. In the parking garage afterwards, he broke down completely. We sat in my SUV while he sobbed against my chest, his fingers clutching my blouse. "I don't want to die, Claire. I want to see Amelia graduate, watch Jonas score his first touchdown. I want to grow old with you." I cupped his face in my hands, looked into the hazel eyes I'd fallen for at 17. "Baby, I'd sell my soul to keep you here. We're going to beat this thing, whatever it takes, whatever it costs. We're going to win. Promise me," he begged. "Promise me you won't let me die." "I promise, Daniel. I swear on everything I am, everything I have, you're going to survive this." That night, after the kids were asleep, we sat at our kitchen table with insurance paperwork spread out like a map to hell. Limits coverage, deductibles, experimental treatment exclusions. The numbers were staggering. Insurance would cover $60,000. The rest would be on us. "We'll figure it out," I told him. "The house has equity. The business is strong. We have options." He squeezed my hand. "I love you, Claire Whitmore." "I love you too, Daniel. We'll get through this together." Looking back now, knowing what I know, I can see the signs I missed. The way he turned away when he said he loved me. The calculation in his eyes when we discussed selling assets. The quick phone call he made to someone he claimed was his cousin. But his cousin lived in Seattle, and it was past midnight there. But that night, all I saw was my husband, terrified and fragile, needing me to be strong. So I was strong. I made plans, spreadsheets, lists of everything we could sell. I called colleagues, asked about taking on extra work. I was ready to move heaven and earth, because that's what you do for family. That's what a good wife does. At least, that's what I thought a good wife did before I learned that sometimes the person you're trying to save is the one holding the knife. The bills started arriving 2 weeks after Daniel's diagnosis. Each envelope felt heavier than the last. I'd sit at the kitchen table after everyone was asleep, calculator in hand, trying to make the numbers work. They never did. The first bill was $47,000 for diagnostics and initial consultations. Insurance covered $12,000. I emptied our savings account and paid the rest. Daniel found me staring at the bank statement the next morning. "Claire, this is too much. Maybe we should get a second opinion, find a cheaper option." "There is no cheaper option for stage 3, Daniel. Dr. Vance is the best. That's what you need." He kissed my forehead, and I should have noticed he was already showered and dressed at 5 a.m. "I have treatment at 9. You don't need to come. Focus on work." "I want to be there with you." "No, really, I'll be fine. Someone needs to keep making money, right?" The business was doing well, but not well enough. I had 3 big contracts underway, but design meant paying subcontractors and suppliers up front before I saw a dime. Cash flow was tight on a good day. These weren't good days anymore. Sophie noticed first. "Boss, you okay? You've been distracted lately." "Daniel's sick. It's cancer." Her face went pale. Sophie had lost her sister to breast cancer 3 years earlier. "Jesus, Claire, what do you need?" "A miracle.
Or about $300,000. Same thing these days. She hesitated. I've got 20 grand saved. It's yours. I can't take your money, Soph. You gave me a job when nobody else would. Take it. So I did. Pride is expensive when your husband is dying. The second wave of bills came with Dr. Vance's recommendation for experimental treatment. There's a new drug combination showing remarkable results, he explained in his pristine office. It's not FDA approved yet, so insurance won't cover it, but I've seen tumors shrink by 70%. How much? Daniel asked, gripping my hand. The protocol is approximately $180,000. Daniel started to object, but I cut him off. We'll find it. I sold the studio's best equipment first. The drafting tables, the 3D printers, the light fixtures I'd spent years collecting. Tools that let me take on bigger, more ambitious projects. By Wednesday, most of it was gone. Clients called, demanding updates. I had to cancel jobs, refund deposits. Mrs. Catterson was kind. Claire, take all the time you need, family first. But the St. James developers weren't so forgiving. They pulled the contract and demanded their deposit back. Just like that, $60,000 in future profit vanished. I had to let my staff go next. Called them into the office on a Friday afternoon. These projects, I can't keep up. I need you to file for unemployment, find other work. When this is over, if you'll have me, I'll bring every one of you back. They filed out quietly. Sophie stayed behind. This isn't right, Claire. Something feels off. Cancer doesn't care what feels right. The house went on the market in month 3. The house I'd rebuilt with my own hands, where every wall held a memory. Jonah found me standing in the sunroom I'd added the year he was born. Mom, are we really moving? It's just temporary, sweetheart. When Dad gets better, we'll build another one, a better one. I don't want a better one. I want this one. So did I. But the house sold in 2 weeks, $420,000. After paying off the mortgage, we cleared $300,000. It went straight to medical bills and the new treatment protocol. We moved into a 2-bedroom rental downtown. Amelia and Jonah shared a room for the first time in their lives. They didn't complain, at least not to me, but I heard Amelia crying at night through the thin walls. My father came by one evening, saw me packing up my design books to sell. Claire, this has gone far enough. Let me help. Dad, you and Mom need their retirement. We need our daughter more. Your mother agrees. We can give you $50,000. I won't take it. He slammed his hand on the table, something he hadn't done since I was a teenager. Damn, you're proud, girl. You're drowning and won't take a life preserver. My husband, my responsibility. Your family, our responsibility. That's how this works. But I wouldn't budge. Looking back, I wish I had. It would have saved more than money. The wedding ring was the last thing to go. A platinum band Daniel had given me when I landed my first big contract. I'd promised I'd never take it off. Now I was sliding it across the counter at Goldman's pawn shop. Mr. Goldstein, who'd known my family for 40 years, looked at it sadly. Claire, this ring has a story. Your father bought the original setting from my father in 1955. You had it reset for Daniel. How much do you need? How much can you give me? It's worth $8,000. I'll give you $15,000. I can't take charity. It's not charity. It's an investment in a good woman having a bad year. So I took the $15,000, added it to the $10,000 I got from my mother's necklace, which I'd sold without telling her. That covered another month of treatment. Meanwhile, Daniel was getting better, at least physically. The weight he'd lost made his cheekbones sharp, but his color was returning. Dr. Vance showed us scans where the tumors had supposedly shrunk. The treatment is working better than expected, he announced. I think we're looking at full remission within 2 months. Daniel cried with relief. I felt nothing but exhaustion. We'd won, but at what cost? I was down to nothing. No business, no house, no savings. But he was alive. That was supposed to be enough. Marcus pulled me aside at Sunday dinner. Something's not right. Daniel seems different. He's been through hell. No, it's something else. The way he looks at you. Like he's disappointed. You're imagining things. But he wasn't. I just couldn't see it yet. Or maybe I didn't want to. Because when you've given everything for someone, you can't afford to question if they were worth it. That kind of thinking could drive you insane.
The same week Dr. Vance declared Daniel cancer-free, he started getting text messages that made him smile. When I asked who he was talking to, he said it was his support group. They understand what I've been through, he said, not looking at me. You wouldn't get it. I should have known then. The man who'd shared everything with me for 15 years suddenly had secrets. But I was too tired to fight, too broke to think straight, and too relieved he was alive to question the distance growing between us. 6 weeks after his final clear scan,
I came home from a day labor job to find suitcases in our bedroom. He was folding clothes with the kind of precision he used when he was angry. The apartment smelled of expensive cologne he hadn't worn since before his diagnosis. Daniel, what's happening? Are we going somewhere? He didn't look up. I'm leaving you, Claire. The words didn't make sense. I'd spent 14 months selling everything I'd built to save his life. We'd won. He was cancer-free. We were supposed to rebuild together. I don't understand. Is this about the money? I'll build it back, Daniel. Just give me time. Finally, he looked at me. His eyes were cold as steel. Look at yourself, Claire. You're pathetic. Working day labor like some migrant, living in this dump, wearing the same 3 outfits because you sold everything else. I sold everything to save your life. And that's exactly the problem. He laughed then, a sound I'd never heard from him before. Cruel, sharp. A real woman wouldn't have lost everything. A real woman would have kept her business, her dignity. A real woman wouldn't have ended up here. A real woman? I gave up everything for you. No, you gave up everything because you're weak. My hands were shaking now. My lawyer, Brent Caldwell. Now there's a man who knows how to handle life. He saw my potential, saw what I could become without you dragging me down. Brent Caldwell. The name was like a blade. The divorce attorney, with the billboard downtown, take them for everything they're worth. You're having an affair. It's not an affair when the marriage is already dead, Claire. It died the day you sold our house. Maybe before. I watched you scramble for money, pawning jewelry, begging Sophie to help, firing your staff like a coward. It was disgusting. I was trying to save your life. Well, congratulations, you saved it. And now I'm going to live it properly with someone who isn't a complete failure. He handed me the divorce papers like he was giving me a receipt. Brent says you'll need your own lawyer, though. I don't know how you'll afford one. I'm seeking full custody of the children, spousal support, and half of any future earnings when you rebuild Whitmore Interiors. You can't take my kids. I can, and I will. They need stability, not a mother who lives in an hotel and works under the table for cash. Marcus arrived within an hour of my call. He found me sitting on the apartment steps, papers still in my hand. He read through them, his face growing redder with each page. This is insane, Claire. He can't do this. You saved his life. Apparently, that makes me weak. We're fighting this. I'll call every lawyer in Denver if I have to. But lawyers cost money, and I had none. Legal aid assigned me a public defender named Patricia Moss, fresh out of law school and drowning in cases. She reviewed my financial documents with the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. Ms. Whitmore, you have no assets, no steady income, and your living situation wouldn't meet custody requirements for 2 teenagers. Mr. Whitmore has already moved into a 4-bedroom home in Cherry Creek with Mr. Caldwell. According to these documents, they're engaged. It doesn't look good. The custody hearing was 3 weeks later. I wore my only suit, the one I'd saved for funerals. Daniel showed up in designer clothes I'd never seen before. Brent Caldwell at his side like he'd already won. Judge Thornton presided, known for being fair but strict about children's welfare. Daniel testified first, painting a picture of me as unstable, financially reckless, possibly depressed. She sold our family home without fully consulting me, he told the judge, tears perfectly timed. She made decisions that left our children without stability. I'm concerned about her mental state. When it was my turn, I tried to explain. Your Honor, I sold everything to pay for Daniel's cancer treatment. The medical bills were over $300,000. And where are those medical records? Kandau called in smoothly. My client's health information is private, he told the judge, but I can assure the court he would have survived with standard treatment. Ms. Whitmore chose to pursue excessive measures that bankrupted the family unnecessarily. Excessive? I snapped. He had stage 3 cancer. The judge called for order. Then came the worst part. My children were brought in to testify. Amelia wouldn't meet my eyes. Jonas stared at his shoes. Would you prefer to live with your mother or father? The judge asked. Jonah's voice was flat, rehearsed. Dad's house is better for us. Mom can visit, but we need stability. Amelia just nodded, tears running down her face. I wanted to scream that Daniel had coached them, threatened them, but I had no proof. Patricia Moss didn't object to anything. She seemed defeated before we'd even begun. The ruling was swift. Given Ms. Whitmore's current financial situation and living arrangements, I award full custody to Mr. Whitmore. Ms. Whitmore will have supervised visitation every other weekend. Additionally, she will pay $500 monthly in child support and 30% of any future earnings exceeding $40,000 annually for spousal support. Your Honor, I don't even have $500. Then I suggest you find employment quickly, Miss Whitmore, or face contempt charges. Outside the courthouse, Daniel walked past me with the jids. Jonah tried to stop, but Daniel pulled him along. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said loudly for everyone to hear. Brent Caldwell stopped by me. "You should have let him go, Claire. Some women aren't meant to play in the big leagues. You loved him, and that was your first mistake. Love is for people who can afford it." That night, I moved into the Sunset Valley Motel. $39 a night, paid weekly. The owner, Mrs. Chen, had kind eyes and didn't ask questions when I handed over Wrinkle's cash. "Room 107, she said, sliding me the key. "It's quiet. You look like you need quiet." The room smelled like cigarettes and failure. One bed, one chair, a TV that got 3 channels. I sat on the bed and called Marcus. I lost everything. My kids, my husband, my entire life. "You didn't lose everything, Claire. You're still here. And as long as you're here, you can fight back." "With what? I have nothing left." "You have us. Me, Mom, Dad. We're not giving up on you." But sitting in that motel room, staring at the Waterstein ceiling, I'd already given up on myself. I'd done everything right. Everything a good wife was supposed to do, and it had all been for nothing. Daniel was living in a mansion with his lawyer. My kids thought I was a failure, and I was eating canned beans in a motel that rented rooms by the hour. 3 weeks passed in a blur of day labor and silence. I stopped answering calls, stopped hoping. I existed, nothing more, until the knock came at 2 a.m., the knock that would reveal the truth behind the lie I'd been living, the knock that would prove my father had been fighting for me all along, even when I'd been too proud and too broken to see it.
Theodore Ashford's revelations about Daniel's fake cancer hung in the motel room air like smoke from a fire I couldn't see. I stared at the documents spread across my bed, each one more damning than the last. Bank statements from the Cayman Islands, text messages between Daniel and Dr. Vance arranging appointments for times I couldn't attend, photographs of him with Brent Caldwell dated 2 years before his so-called diagnosis. "This can't be real," I whispered. "I saw him suffer. The vomiting, the weight loss, the panic in his eyes." Theodore slid another report across the blanket. Ipecac syrup induces vomiting. Fenterman causes rapid weight loss. Anti-anxiety medications mimic panic symptoms. Dr. Vance prescribed all of these under the guise of managing side effects. Your husband was essentially poisoning himself just enough to seem sick while you destroyed your life to save him. I stood up too quickly. The room spun. "I need air." "There's more, Miss Whitmore." "More? What more could there possibly be?" Theodore opened a transcript. "This is a recorded conversation between Daniel and Caldwell from 3 days before he asked for the divorce. Would you like me to read the relevant part?" I nodded, unable to speak. Theodore's voice was steady as he read. "Caldwell, is Claire suspicious?" "Daniel, she's too exhausted to think straight. The fool sold her wedding ring yesterday. Actually cried at the pawn shop, according to Mr. Goldstein." "Perfect. File the papers Monday. By the time she figures anything out, we'll be in Bermuda with her money." The rage hit me like a physical force. I punched the wall, leaving a hole in the thin drywall. My knuckles bled, but I didn't feel it. They laughed about it. He watched me pawn my mother's necklace, sell the business I built, give up our home, and he laughed about it. Your father suspected something when Daniel refused to let him attend treatments. Daniel claimed it was too emotional for him, but Robert knew better. He hired me 6 months ago. 6 months? I've been living in this hellhole for 6 months? We needed ironclad evidence. Your ex-husband was careful. One wrong move and he would have vanished with the money and your children. We had to build an airtight case. Theodore pulled out his phone and showed me a video. It was Dr. Vance in what looked like an FBI interrogation room. "Dr. Harrison Vance, you are confessing to medical fraud, insurance fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial fraud in exchange for a reduced sentence. Is that correct?" "Yes," Vance replied, pale and sweating. "Daniel is my cousin. He came to me 2 years ago with this plan, said his marriage was suffocating him, that Claire was too safe, too boring, and he deserved better. He wanted out, but he needed money to start over. I told him it was insane, but he offered me 30% of whatever he corrected. I had debts. I agreed." The video continued. "He never had cancer. Never. Every scan I showed Claire was from other patients, edited with Daniel's information. Every treatment was fake. The whole thing was an elaborate con." Theodore paused the video. "There are 3 hours of confession. He details everything, including how Daniel began his relationship with Caldwell before the fake diagnosis. In fact, Caldwell gave him the idea after handling another client's divorce where the spouse had cancer." I sank back onto the bed, head in my hands. My kids. Oh, God, my kids think I'm a failure. Theodore pulled out another document. About that, your father has been meeting with them in secret. 2 weeks ago, he showed them some of this evidence. They know the truth now. What? Your son Jonah called your father after finding Daniel shredding documents. He knew something was wrong. Your father told them everything. They're at his house right now waiting for you. But the custody order says I can't see them without supervision. Theodore smiled. That order is about to become irrelevant. In 4 hours, at 6 a.m., the FBI will arrest Daniel and Brent Caldwell. The charges include medical fraud, insurance fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and custodial interference. Dr. Vance was arrested yesterday and is already in federal custody. This is really happening? It's happening. Theodore reached into his case again and pulled out a deed. Your father bought your house the day you sold it, used a shell company to hide the purchase from Daniel. It's been waiting for you. I stared at the deed, my address, the home I poured every ounce of myself into. My dad bought my house? He also kept your business licenses current, maintained your insurance, and turned away clients who wanted to hire Whitmore Interiors, telling them you'd be back. He's been fighting for you this entire time. Tears blurred my vision. There's one more thing, Theodore said. Your design team, Sophie and the others, they've been meeting at your father's every Sunday. They've been refusing permanent jobs, scraping by with temp work, waiting for you. Robert has helped them financially when they needed it. I couldn't speak. My throat closed with emotion. Theodore stood to leave. Your father wanted me to give you this. He handed me a set of keys. Your SUV is in the parking lot. He's been maintaining it. There's also this. It was Theodore's business card, on the back in my father's handwriting. Claire, a woman isn't measured by what she loses, but by what she's willing to sacrifice for love. You sacrificed everything. Now let us help you rebuild. No more pride. Just come home. Miss Whitmore, Theodore said softly, Daniel thought you broke you. He thought you were weak for giving everything to save him, but he never understood. Your strength wasn't in what you owned. It was in what you were willing to lose for someone you loved. That's not weakness. That's a kind of strength most people will never have. After he left, I sat in the darkness of room 107 for an hour, staring at the card. Then I got up, showered, put on my last clean shirt, and walked outside. My SUV was there, gleaming under the streetlight, same dent in the bumper from Jonah's bike 2 years ago, same coffee stain on the driver's seat from when Amelia knocked over my mug rushing to school. I gripped the keys so tight my palm ached. For the first time in months, I felt something close to hope. I drove to my parents' house as the sun came up. The entire family was waiting on the porch. Amelia and Jonah ran to the SUV before I could even park. Mom, Amelia sobbed against my chest, we're so sorry. Dad made us say those things in court. He said he'd sent us to military school if we didn't. Jonah, trying to be strong but failing, hugged me harder than he ever had. I knew something was wrong, Mom. The way he laughed about selling the house, it wasn't right. Grandpa showed us the truth. He's evil. He's actually evil. My father stood on the porch, my mother beside him. He looked older, that satisfied, like a general who'd finally won a war. Daughter, he said simply. Dad, I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Just come inside. Your mother made breakfast. Your team is on their way over, and we have a business to rebuild. But first, we eat. You look like hell. As we walked inside, my phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Whitmore, this is Agent Sarah Coleman with the FBI. We have Daniel and Brent Caldwell in custody. We'll need you to come to the federal building this afternoon to give a statement. Are they going to prison? With the evidence we have, they're both looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. The money has been frozen and will be returned to you as restitution. I hung up and looked at my family. They got him. My mother started crying. Marcus whooped and punched the air. My father just nodded. Justice, he said quietly. Now we rebuild. 6 months later, I stood in my reopened studio, running my hand across the same drafting table where I'd sketched my very first design. The FBI had been thorough. Daniel got 12 years in federal prison for fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Brent Caldwell got 15 years plus disbarment. Dr. Harrison Vance lost his medical license and received 8 years. The court ordered restitution, though most of the money was gone. What they recovered helped restart Whitmore Interiors. But the money wasn't what mattered. What mattered was this Saturday morning. Amelia working on a watercolor concept beside me, Jonah measuring boards for a custom bookshelf we were building for my mother. Mom, Amelia asked while sketching, how do you trust anyone after what Dad did? I thought about that a lot these days. You know what Grandpa Robert taught me? Trust, but verify. I trusted your father completely, and that wasn't wrong. Love should include trust. But I ignored warning signs because I wanted to believe the best.
Real love, like what Grandpa showed me when he investigated quietly while still supporting me, protects while it trusts. Jonah looked up from the tape measure. Do you hate him? No, son. Hate would mean he still has power over me. I feel sorry for him. He had a family who loved him, a wife who would have died for him, and he threw it away for money that's now locked in federal accounts. He'll spend the next 12 years in the cell thinking about that choice. Sophie walked in with coffee and donuts. She'd been the first to return when I reopened the studio. The rest of the team followed within a week. Claire, Mrs. Patterson wants to know if you can redesign her guest house. Says she'll wait as long as it takes, for you specifically. Tell her we'll start next month. My father appeared in the doorway, still checking my work after all these years. But now I welcomed it. His vigilance had saved me when I couldn't save myself. Looking good, Claire. Though that corner joint could be tighter. It's perfect and you know it. He smiled, just keeping you sharp. We worked in comfortable silence until Amelia asked another question. Mom, that private investigator, Mr. Ashford, his card is still on your desk. Why? I picked it up, reading the note on the back for the 100th time. He thinks I should help other people going through what we went through. Fake illness scams are more common than you think. He wants me to consult on cases, share my story, help people see the warning signs. Will you? Jonah asked. Maybe. Right now I'm focused on rebuilding, but someday, yeah, if I can stop one person from going through what we went through, it'll be worth it. My mother called from the house. Lunch is ready, everyone inside. As we walked toward the kitchen, Marcus pulled up in his truck. He'd started coming to every family meal, bringing his kids, making sure I never felt alone. The house was loud again, full of life, laughter, and arguments about football teams. After lunch, I stood on the back porch with my father, watching Amelia and Jonah shoot baskets in the driveway. The same hoop I'd installed 15 years earlier still hung there, a little rusty but solid. Dad, I never properly thanked you. You don't need to. Yes, I do. You saved my life when I'd given up on it. He put his hand on my shoulder, his grip still strong at 74. Claire, you would have done the same for Amelia or Jonah. Hell, you did do the same for someone who didn't deserve it. That's not stupidity, that's character. The only difference between you and me is I've lived long enough to know that sometimes the people we love most are the ones capable of hurting us worst. How do you know when to trust and when to verify? You don't. You just do both. You love with your whole heart, but keep your eyes open. And you make sure your family knows that no matter what happens, you've got their back. The motel key from room 107 still hangs on a hook in my studio, not as a reminder of my lowest point, but as proof that rock bottom isn't the end, not if you have people who won't let you stay down. Every morning, I see it when I grab my tools, and I remember. The worst thing that ever happened to me led to the most important lesson of my life. Real strength isn't about never falling. It's about having people who refuse to let you stay down.